Okay, get this. The global market for insulin is projected to hit a whopping USD 21.64 billion in 2025.
Wow.
Think about that for a second. That massive number really underscores, well, the huge scale of managing diabetes worldwide.
It certainly does. And, this figure, it's coming from the 2025 Global Insulin Market Report and isn't just about dollars and cents, right?
Right.
It represents a vast network that touches the lives of so many people who depend on this medicine every single day.
Exactly. So for this deep dive, we're really zeroing in on the significant market. We've got that 2025 report at our main source here.
Yep.
And our goal is basically to give you the clearest possible understanding of where things stand now and, well, where they're headed.
Kind of like a shortcut.
Consider this your express route, yeah, to getting the key insights without, being swamped by endless data.
Right. Our aim is really to pull out the most crucial trends, pinpoint the regions with the most activity, and really dig into what's driving all this.
So people get the info that matters.
Exactly. Connect the dots for you.
All right, let's dive right into the core of it then. That USD 21.64 billion figure for this year, 2025, that's not the end of the story, is it?
No, not at all.
The report anticipates some pretty substantial growth in the coming years.
That's right. The projection is that the global insulin market will reach USD 30.07 billion by 2033.
Yeah, okay.
So we're looking at a significant expansion over the next, 8 years or so?
That's like adding almost another $10 billion to the market.
Pretty much, yeah. A huge jump.
And it's not just a case of steady, predictable growth, is it? There's a specific rate, a percentage they mentioned?
Precisely. The report forecasts a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of 4.20% from 2025 to 2033.
Okay, CAGR. So that's like the average yearly increase.
Yeah, think of it like that, the average yearly percentage increase. So on average, we can expect the market to grow by about 4.2% each year during that period.
It's also important to keep in mind the time frame the researchers used, right? It's not just a guess out of thin air.
Absolutely. Their analysis is, it's grounded in a base year of 2024.
Okay.
And they've looked back at historical data from 2021 to 2024 to see the trends.
Gotcha.
So this year, 2025, is their estimated current point, and then they project forward to 2033. That historical context, it gives more confidence to their predictions.
Makes sense. Now, let's get a sense of where this market is most prominent geographically. I was really struck by how different the market share is across the various regions.
Definitely. In 2025, North America holds the largest slice of the global insulin market,
Okay.
accounting for roughly 37%, which translates to about USD 8.01 billion.
Right.
However, their projected KGR for the period leading up to 2033 is a bit more moderate, 2.7%.
Interesting. Why do you think that might be the case despite them being the biggest market right now?
That's a good question. Maybe it's because the prevalence of diagnosed diabetes is already quite high there.
Yeah, it could be.
So the growth rate wouldn't be as dramatic as in regions where diagnosis and access are still climbing.
That makes sense. Saturation, maybe.
Could be a factor, yeah. Within North America, the U.S. is the clear leader, estimated at USD 6.32 billion in 2025 with a KGR of 2.5%.
Okay.
Canada follows at USD 0.96 billion with a slightly higher growth rate of 3.5%, and Mexico comes in at USD 0.73 billion with a 3.2% CAGR.
Okay. Moving across the Atlantic, Europe's also a pretty substantial piece of the pie.
Yes, Europe accounts for around 29% of the global insulin market. Size-wise, that's USD 6.28 billion in 2025 and a projected CAGR of 3.3%.
So slightly higher growth than North America overall.
A little bit, yeah. And we see some interesting variations within Europe itself. The UK market is around USD 1.05 billion with a 4.1% growth rate, while Germany is larger at USD 1.24 billion but with a slightly lower CGR, 3.5%.
Okay.
France and Italy are smaller, both around the $500 million mark with KGRs of 2.5% and 2.7% respectively. Russia stands at USD 0.97 billion with a 2.3% CGR.
The report really drills down, doesn't it, even for some of the smaller European markets?
It does. Spain, Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, even Luxembourg each have their own market sizes and growth rates outlined.
Right.
For example, Luxembourg shows a relatively high TPHER, 3.6%, but obviously on a smaller base, USD 0.08 billion.
Okay.
And then the rest of Europe collectively makes up USD 0.88 billion with a 2.0% CAGR. It just highlights that even smaller markets can have their own specific growth drivers.
Now, for a region that really jumps out in terms of future growth, Asia Pacific or APAC?
Ah, yes. You've hit on a key point there. APAC currently holds around 24% of the global market, with a size of USD 5.19 billion in 2025.
Right.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The projected CAGR from 2025 to 2033 is a whopping 6.9%.
Wow, 6.9%. That's
It's
fast.
the fastest growing region by a significant margin. What do you think is fueling this rapid expansion?
Well, it sounds like maybe a combination of things. Perhaps a rising incidence of diabetes, maybe linked to lifestyle changes, coupled with expanding access to healthcare and, increasing diagnosis rates in many of those countries.
Exactly. You nailed it. China is a major player here, with a market size of USD 2.18 billion and a strong CDR of 6.4%.
Big numbers.
But India is particularly noteworthy. Its growth rate is the highest in the region, 8.8%.
It's 8%.
Yeah, and a current market size of USD 0.52 billion. Japan and South Korea also have substantial markets and solid growth rates.
And it's not just the giants like China and India driving that APAC growth, is it?
Not at all. Australia, Singapore, Taiwan, and the collective Southeast Asia region, they all show robust CAGRs, really strong future growth potential in these areas too.
Okay.
The rest of APAC also contributes with a healthy 7.7% CAGR. It really underscores the dynamic nature of healthcare markets in that part of the world.
Right. Shifting our focus now, South America. Smaller market, but still significant and growing.
Yep, South America accounts for about 4% of the global market. Size is USD 0.82 billion in 2025, and the projected CAGR is 4.9%.
Okay.
Brazil and Argentina are the largest markets in the region, with growth rates of 5.5% and 5.8% respectively.
So decent growth there too.
Yeah, and Colombia, Peru, and Chile also contribute, showing similar growth trajectories.
And the Middle East. Similar sort of market share to South America.
That's right, also around 4%. Market size USD 0.87 billion in 2025, and a CAGR of 5.4%.
Even slightly faster growth than South America?
A bit, yeah. Saudi Arabia and the UAE are key markets here, both showing strong growth projections. Turkey and Qatar also contribute, alongside Egypt and the rest of the Middle East. It highlights the increasing focus on managing chronic diseases in the region.
Okay. Finally, let's consider Africa, currently the smallest market share, I believe.
Correct.
But it feels like a really crucial area when we think about, global health equity and access to essential medicines.
Absolutely critical. Africa holds about 2.2% of the global insulin market. That's a size of USD 0.48 billion in 2025 and a CAGR of 4.5%.
Okay.
South Africa and Nigeria are the largest markets identified on the continent. And while the current market size is smaller compared to other regions, the growth potential is significant.
Right. Given increasing diabetes rates and efforts to improve healthcare.
Exactly. Ongoing efforts to improve healthcare infrastructure are key there.
Okay, this regional breakdown really gives us a clear picture. We see the current demand, where it's likely to be strongest in the future. Now, the report also goes into detail about how the market is segmented based on the type of insulin itself. What are the main distinctions there?
Right. So the report primarily segments the market in two main ways.
Yeah.
By the mode of action of the insulin and by its source.
Okay, mode of action first.
Yeah. So when we look at mode of action, long-acting insulin is currently the dominant segment.
Long-acting.
This type releases slowly over an extended period, which is crucial for maintaining stable baseline blood glucose levels throughout the day, sort of the foundation.
That makes perfect sense. It's the foundation for around-the-clock glucose control. But the report also points to another segment experiencing the most rapid growth.
Yes, rapid-acting insulin is the fastest-growing segment based on mode of action.
Okay, why is that?
Well, it's largely because it offers greater flexibility for mealtime dosing. It allows individuals to better manage those spikes in blood glucose that happen after eating.
Ah, okay. More tailored treatment.
Exactly. As diabetes treatment becomes more personalized, more tailored to individual needs and lifestyles, the demand for rapid-acting insulin is expected to just keep climbing.
Makes sense. What about the source of the insulin? Is there a similar dynamic there between what's most common and what's growing fastest?
There is, actually. Modern insulin, which is produced using what's called recombinant DNA technology.
Okay, the lab-made stuff.
Essentially, yeah, creating insulin in a lab using modified organisms. That's currently the dominant segment by source.
And why is that dominant?
It's generally preferred due to its high effectiveness and a lower incidence of side effects compared to older forms of insulin.
Got it, but it's not the fastest growing by source.
Correct. Human insulin is actually the fastest growing segment by source.
Huh. That's an interesting dynamic. Why would human insulin be growing faster if modern insulin is generally seen as having advantages?
Well, the primary factor driving the growth of human insulin is its lower cost.
Ah, affordability.
Exactly. And broader accessibility, particularly in lower income countries and, emerging markets. While modern insulins offer benefits, human insulin remains a more affordable and therefore often more available option for a large portion of the global population.
Right. So it highlights that crucial balancing act in healthcare. Efficacy versus affordability and access.
Absolutely. It's a key tension in this market.
So we've covered the market size, the regional distribution, the different types of insulin. What are the fundamental factors that are actually driving this overall market growth? The big picture drivers.
The report identifies several key market drivers. The most prominent one is simply the increasing global prevalence of diabetes.
More people getting diagnosed.
Right. As more people are diagnosed with both type 1 and type 2 diabetes worldwide, the need for insulin just naturally increases. Secondly, the rising geriatric population plays a significant role. Older individuals are just more susceptible to developing type 2 diabetes.
Right.
And finally, growing awareness about diabetes and increasing government initiatives focused on diabetes management, things like screening programs, treatment subsidies. They're also contributing to market growth by encouraging early diagnosis and treatment.
Okay. On the flip side, are there any factors acting as restraints holding back growth potential?
Yes, there are certainly challenges. The high cost associated with insulin production remains a significant barrier.
We talked about affordability.
Exactly, especially when it comes to ensuring equitable access globally. Additionally, the rigorous regulatory approval processes,
The red tape.
pretty much, and the need for ongoing compliance can sometimes slow down the introduction of new insulin products and, importantly, biosimilars to the market.
Speaking of biosimilars, the report touches on some important market trends. This seems like a really pivotal area to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. The increasing demand for biosimilar insulin products is a major trend. Remind us what biosimilars are exactly.
Well, sure. They're essentially highly similar versions of already approved biologic medications, like insulin. Because they can often be produced at a lower cost than the original brand name products, they have the potential to significantly reduce the overall cost of insulin therapy.
Right. More competition, lower prices, hopefully.
That's the idea. And we've already seen some notable examples, like Eli Lilly launching Risvogler, which is a biosimilar to Lantus, at a substantial discount.
Yeah, I saw that mentioned. A 78% discount. That's pretty significant.
It really is. That could genuinely reshape the affordability landscape for many people who rely on insulin. What was the target price? Lilly's initiative aimed for a $92 price for a 5-pack. It's a clear move towards making insulin more accessible.
Definitely. Any other key trends?
Yeah, another key trend is the growing integration of digital health tools into insulin management.
Tech.
Exactly. Things like continuous glucose monitoring systems, or CGMs, and insulin pumps that can connect to smartphone apps.
It allows for more personalized and, frankly, more convenient management of blood sugar levels.
That makes sense, leveraging technology to improve the daily lives of people managing a chronic condition. Okay, so who are the major players in this highly competitive market? Who's making all this insulin?
Well, the insulin market is quite concentrated. There are a few key companies holding the largest market share. Novo Nordisk, Sanofi, and Eli Lilly are consistently identified as the dominant players globally.
The big three, basically.
Pretty much. These companies invest heavily in R&D, research and development, to create new and improved insulin formulations. They also expand their manufacturing capabilities to meet growing demand, and they have to navigate those complex regulatory environments we mentioned.
So it sounds like these major players aren't just competing for market share, but they're also actively kind of influencing the direction of the market itself.
Precisely. Their strategies include developing advanced insulins with improved profiles like longer-acting or faster-acting options, but also investing in the development and launch of biosimilars to compete on price. And we're also seeing examples of these companies engaging in initiatives to improve access in underserved regions.
Like that Novo Nordisk partnership in South Africa. That really stood out to me as a significant effort towards affordability and access.
Yes, exactly. Their collaboration with Aspen SA Operations is focused on expanding local production and distribution of more affordable human insulin.
Human insulin, again, linking back to cost.
Right. Their goal is ambitious. Reach millions of people across Africa by 2026 with a capped price per vial, I think around $3, through their eye care program.
Wow.
It's a direct response to that urgent need for more accessible insulin in low and middle-income countries.
And Sanofi India's launch of Celica also seems like a noteworthy development mentioned in the report.
It is. Soliqua is a once-daily combination injectable. It includes a long-acting insulin and another type of glucose-lowering medication called lixisenatide.
A combo therapy.
Exactly. Clinical studies, including those done with Indian patients, have shown it can offer benefits for obese adults with type 2 diabetes. Things like improved blood sugar control, maybe some weight benefits, and a lower risk of hypoglycemia.
Interesting. So that highlights the trend towards combination therapies, too, addressing multiple aspects of diabetes.
Definitely. It's all about finding more effective and manageable treatment options.
So to bring it all together then, this deep dive into the 2025 Global Insulin Market Report shows us, well, a substantial market that's continuing to grow, primarily driven by just the increasing number of people living with diabetes worldwide.
Yeah, and we've seen significant variations in market size and growth rates across different regions. APAC, the Asia-Pacific region, showing the most rapid expansion.
Right.
The market's also segmented in interesting ways, with long-acting and modern insulins currently leading in usage.
But rapid-acting and human insulin showing strong growth in specific contexts, especially around flexibility and cost.
Exactly. And the competitive landscape is dominated by a few major pharmaceutical companies. They're focusing on both cutting-edge innovation
New formulations.
and addressing that critical issue of affordability and access through biosimilars and targeted initiatives like we saw in Africa.
Understanding these dynamics provides, well, crucial insights for anyone involved in healthcare, the pharma industry, or really just anyone wanting to grasp the complexities of global health and access to essential medicines.
Absolutely. It's a huge piece of the global health puzzle.
So here's a final thought for you, for everyone listening. Given the significant projected growth of this multi-billion-dollar market and these ongoing efforts to balance innovation with affordability, what do you see as the biggest hurdles and maybe the most promising opportunities in ensuring that everyone who needs insulin can actually access it in the coming decade?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It really is. It's a question with profound implications for health equity around the world, something to think about.